Hello, Mr. Alok Kejriwal ji. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you so much. How are you?
I'm fine.
The thing is, people think deaf can't do it. That is a big issue. For us, we need to show that deaf can do.
What is civilization? What is modernism? What is development? Development is when every citizen can enjoy the same thing equally. Why can't we have a simple law that any citizen who cheats or hurts or humiliates or make fun or use derogatory language towards differently abled people or deaf people, then they will be penalized immediately without no questions asked? Why can't they do that?
I kept trying, and then finally, we worked together for Kashmir Files, and I was so happy for the first time in India and the world. It was so successful. This is proof of concept.
And you are doing my next film, The Delhi Files, also.
Yes, it's a must. I am ready.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to my podcast, Brutally Honest. This is a different kind of a podcast because what happened, yes, some time back, I was sitting with a friend of mine. We were chatting over a cup of coffee, and the discussion went halfway, and we left it there. So I thought, let me just continue it. And a very good old friend of mine. So as I talk, you will discover. And hello, Mr. Alok Kejriwal ji, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you so much. How are you?
I am fine. Where do you live?
I live at Malabar Hill in
So
Bombay.
did you take the coastal road?
Yes, I did. I did. I took the coastal road and then the sea link, and I've come from Malabar Hill.
And how much time did you save?
Wow, it saves. For example, normally in traffic it takes an hour, right? But it just saves almost 30 minutes of your time then. From Andheri to my home, it just takes 30 minutes then. If I take the sea link and then you take from Worli, you take the coastal road and you directly go to Beach Candy. And then from Beach Candy, it's really close to my home. It's just 5-10
Yeah,
minutes.
I have a feeling, I don't know, I'm living in Mumbai for almost now 30 years. And my feeling is that more flyovers we build, more these roads we build, traffic becomes more congested because, yes, sometimes you have sea link you take, you save 3 4 minutes, but then there are bottlenecks. What they do is they make these big flyovers and then suddenly you have narrow. When do you think India will get rid of all these bottlenecks, these problems?
It's possible, I mean, better infrastructure, better technology, which will help to save gas, energy, so many things, in the future. And all of these are worth it. So eventually it will help save time. Earlier, traffic did waste a lot of our time. It wasted a lot of oil, energy, so many car issues as well. So I feel Bombay can have better infrastructure to save everybody's time.
But I have never understood, Kejriwal ji, you are a entrepreneur, businessman, and you also run this Indian Sign Language Society, and you are, in that way, you are a real, for me, you are a very creative person. What is your observation? Why our governments, since election has just happened, so I'm starting with little politics, and but why our governments are not people friendly and why they are more bureaucracy stuck? That's why I use the word bottleneck, because whatever projects you see, they're bottlenecks. Like I was talking to somebody about the problems of deafs, okay, and some bureaucrat, and I said, why don't we pay special attention to people like this? Why don't we treat them like normal and all that? He said, oh, Vivek ji, you don't know. There are so many bottlenecks in our system. Can't set our priorities, and priorities are always with capitalists. And so a huge section of the society gets lost in gets stuck in these bottlenecks, and the rich and powerful people take the flyovers and highways. I'm sorry, I'm talking a little metaphorically, but tell me from the point of view of deaf people.
So what happens is hearing people, rich people, celebrities, politicians, they are not aware about the deaf community. They think, oh, that's nothing. God has made me deaf. I have to accept it. Whether you're blind, you're handicapped, God has made us men, women, everybody is the same. It's not our fault. You have to give accessibility, equality, hearing people and deaf community are citizens, are equal citizens. You have to give them access. ISH provides accessibility for all. This is my passion, whether it is movie translations, advertisement translations, a news channel for the deaf community. All of this is very useful for deaf people. They don't want to depend on their parents, you know. Here they are independent. So, as a deaf role model, I'm supporting them. Deaf people can do, they have brains, but they don't have opportunities. That is the barrier, that is the bottleneck there. Now government is waking up, you know. We've worked with Star Sports and for the World Cup and the IPL for the first time in the world. Nobody in the US is doing this, you know. They're just providing captions. Here, sign language is our mother tongue. Why are you providing content in languages like Tamil, Telugu, Kannada? You're not forcing people to watch Hindi content, right? It's because it's their language. Similarly, this is our language. I'm sure, you know, eventually people will open minds, the government will help, and the time will come for that.
Yeah, wonderful. And I'll tell you how people who don't know who are watching this podcast, let me just tell you for the viewers. The whole thing started because my hairstylist, okay, her parents were deaf, both the parents. And her name is Zenobia, and she works in Chroma K. And so I've been going there for many years, and she used to tell me about her parents. She used to look after them, and all those kind of things. And I've been thinking in my family also there is one boy who can't hear from childhood. So in our family, we didn't even know whether to call him deaf and dumb. And I saw because they can't talk, so in small towns everybody used to call him dumb. You know, dumb in sorry in Hindi, gunga, and nobody realized that where the problem was coming. So I said, in the sign language is like any other language, and such a huge population can't hear, so why not use it for films? And why why should I cut off or isolate deaf people from enjoying a film with full dialogues? And that's when somebody then spoke about you, and that's how we associated with you. And the viewers who do not know, let me tell you, the Kashmir Files became the first feature film dubbed in Indian Sign Language, and which is a matter of pride for everybody. And after that, so many deaf people I meet at the airports, okay, whenever I travel, some young boys and girls, they come to my lectures. I give lots of lectures, and they thank me. I say, don't thank me, thank Alok Kejriwal ji. So gratitude from all those people who saw Kashmir Files in sign language because of you. How this thing started, please tell me.
Very good question. So it was always my dream, you know. I saw in the US there is 95% accessibility for the deaf in the US. Why not something in India? I want to do something. My philosophy was that in the US there are captions because deaf people in the US are educated. In India, 95% of deaf people are not educated because of the poor school system here. So then, deaf people here prefer to use ISL. We set up a news channel which has videos in sign language. This is good for deaf children to learn, and for their hearing parents also can watch a news channel, listen to the voiceover and learn. So they can learn sign language and communicate with their deaf kids, whoever. They can communicate with the whole family then. Slowly, then I realized, why not movies? I loved watching movies from childhood. I loved watching action films because my mama had his own theatre, had his own cinema in Assam. And I used to go almost every day to watch because nobody could communicate with me when I was a child. Everybody was just talking. I could go watch a movie, watch action films, and I was entertained. So that's I kept trying, and then finally, we worked together for Kashmir Files, and I was so happy for the first time in India and the world. It was so successful. This is proof of concept here. Can't sometimes fighting with the government is not the only way. Sometimes you need to show it to them that see this is possible, and then avenues open. Now we have done 8 movies so far. Kashmir Files, 83, Bhag Milkha Bhag, Kutch Express, Chal Jeevi Laye, Gadar 2.
And you are doing my next film, The Delhi Files, also.
Yes, it's a must. I am ready.
I'll for the viewers, I'll put some shots of the screening which we did in St. Andrews Hall, and it was jam packed. When I came on the stage, everybody cheered, so I couldn't resist, and I went in between the crowd. Love you. I started crying at that time, and I said, this is like, what is a complete life? Life is what is civilization? What is modernism? What is development? Development is when every citizen can enjoy the same thing equally. Now, for example, I have a cousin. Okay, he is very lazy, and therefore he is not successful in life. Okay, that's a handicap. Somebody has a handicap of overeating. Somebody has handicap of drinking. Some people have a handicap of hate and violence, negativity. Similarly, this is one handicap. Okay, and when the society says, okay, I have to enable people, empower them to succeed, when the whole focus of the state, government, and the society is to make sure that every citizen at least has an opportunity to succeed. Okay, by not helping the deaf people or the blind people, I feel very sad that blind people are given one job to make chair and all those kind of things when they are capable of doing so much. So
Yes, that is true.
now, please, give me all your views. Speak. I will listen. Tell me about the world of deaf people.
So deaf people have different skills. In my office, 90% of my staff is deaf. Editors, videographers, graphic artists, script writers, they're all deaf, 90%. 10% of my staff are codas. Children of deaf adults like Priya here. So we have 4-5 codas. It's done. Our office is run by a deaf team, designers, websites, everything. Deaf people are super smart. They're equal to hearing people. For me, I want to give them an opportunity to work, and that's when hearing people are like, oh my God, they're all deaf. And again, this is proof. See, Kashmir Files also was made by a deaf team. Nobody in India, the interpretation was done by them. So we have skill. So how you have hearing editors, you have videographers, cameramen. Similarly, deaf people are also there. The quality is equivalent to that. The thing is, people think deaf can't do it. That is a big issue. For us, we need to show that deaf can do just like hearing.
Of course, I mean, I do podcasts with people and we are talking exactly at the same time, same pace in real time without wasting time. So tell me, Kejriwal ji, how has deafness shaped your identity, your life, your aspirations? And how come you are such a successful entrepreneur, innovator, and not somebody who seeks sympathy from the society and says, oh, I am weak, do something for me? Tell me how you found your self-worth. And take your time, please.
Sure. Very good question. So my father has been wonderful. He is a lawyer.
Is he also deaf?
Father, my parents are hearing. My father is a lawyer and a businessman. I'm the only son. I have 4 sisters. My father wanted me to become a successful role model, like my dad, like how he was a lawyer. So he was very strict with me and forced me, beat me up, study, study. And then when I finished studying, he told me that you need to go to the US to study more, because he learned that 4 people went to the US. In India, there was no deaf college or anything. So my father said, you need to work hard, you need to run this business, you need to save money, you need to do everything. And then he sent me to the US. So that's where I learned to become independent. I did not depend on my parents. I didn't have to depend on my parents to go to the doctor or any small thing. In India, I was just pampered. For everything, I depended on them. Oh, they would pity me. You know how India is. Everybody's very protective. Oh, don't drive, don't do this, don't do that. When I went to the US, I could drive. I was independent. I could go to the bank, how to deposit money, how to withdraw money. In India, my father took care of everything. In the US, I did it myself. Went to the hospital, the doctor, to the police. Everywhere there were interpreters, and I was independent. So I worked hard, I studied, I graduated, and then I saw that there were so many deaf lawyers, and I was surprised. There were deaf doctors there, there were deaf CAs over there, and there were programmers, there were scientists who were deaf, and I realized that they all can do. Why can't deaf people in India do it? It made me realize that I want to become a businessman like my father. My father was running his own pharmaceutical ampule factory. And that time we had 3 factories. So I went back to India and I said, I'll join my father's business. After graduation, one of my professors wanted me to stay in the US and I refused. I said, I'm going back to India. I love my culture, my family. I came back here and it was challenging. There is no interpreter, no interpreters in India, no accessibility, but it didn't matter. I stayed positive. My father trained me to run a business for 5 years. It was like a classroom. My father would sit next to me, I would sit next to him, and I would listen. All meetings, discussions, paperwork, I would keep watching. I used to get bored, but he said, shut up, just watch, use your eyes. You cannot hear, it's okay. Everything I kept observing, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Then my father sent me to Africa. I said, no, I can't go. The Africa is not safe. He said, shut up, you must go. And I will train you. I will take care of you. Everything. Africa is not safe, Then what happened is one of our customers from Africa came to India for some business, and that schedule it worked. So I flight back with him to Kenya. And my father told him, please take care of my son, drop him at the hotel. So the customer was like, the client said, don't worry. He was a Gujarati himself, businessman. He dropped me to Kenya in the hotel, and then he asked me, if you need driver, let me know. You can use the driver and go. And I visited all the different clients in Kenya and I communicated with them by writing. And then the whole day I did all of that, and then in the evening I came. So, and then all the meeting reports, I would fax it and send it to my father, and then my father would check the commercials. In the morning I would receive another fax from him, and he guided me. Whatever payments, everything, he guided me, and then I would go ahead and speak to the clients again. And I got 3 business orders that day, and my father was surprised. He knew, but it was very successful, and as a deaf person, it was very nice. They didn't see me as a deaf person, I told them, see, this is the quotation, this is the quality, and they supported me instead of another thing. And then my father said, okay, you keep going. He kept sending me to Africa every 2-3 months, and then the business expanded. And now we're working with over 35 countries.
Brilliant. How do you deal with income tax officers?
It's great. So I tell them,
If Priya is not there, how do you talk to them?
It's possible. I have managed. Very good question. If there is an emergency and there's no interpreter, my accounts executive, no signing, So then I tell the officer, listen, I'm sorry, I'm deaf, I made a mistake. And the income tax officer sometimes we might just wave it off, So I say the accountant made a mistake. So I say, what can I do then? So I write on the paper, communicate. They give me a warning, and then they wave it off. That's happened, and it's lucky.
Okay, now tell me something very honestly. Okay, very honestly, no nationalism here. Okay, no love for country. Very objectively tell me what is a life of a deaf person in USA versus life of a deaf person in India. And my follow-up question would be not just Mumbai, in a small town like Nashik or Nagpur, where people not as have not the same quotient of understanding. Tell me, explain it to people. What is the difference? If can you tell me point by point? This will give a very good landscape and vision for the authorities and people who are change makers to understand where are the gaps.
So there is a very big difference when it comes to the US and India. The education system is very different. US has already advanced. As per the law, the US law they are following. If you violate anything, you can sue people there. You know how the US system works. Whether it is hearing, whether it is deaf or blind, anyone. In India, India has passed the law, the RPWD Act, but some people ignore it, some people follow it. But that's because there is not enough awareness. The government needs to be strict. Oh, the government is strict, then people move. For example, income tax, GST, TDS, it's very strict, right? If you miss anything, there are penalties, right? The government needs to do some penalize people so that people wake up and they move and do something there. Then we just want to save money. Oh, no need to provide accessibility to the deaf. There are what deaf schools.
Okay, just one second. Okay, let me just recap and crystallize you the first point because I want to make a note of people to know. First thing you are saying is that in US law and enforcement is very strict. Everybody is treated equally. Whichever law, every law has to be treated equally. But in India, when it comes to the laws where government benefits like collecting taxes, GSTs, things like that, they are very strict. They punish you, they penalize you. But when it comes to citizens' comfort, citizen conveniences, and looking after the weak people, there are laws, there are rules and regulations, but nobody cares about them. They leave people just to suffer. The government should always be empowered and citizens not. This is my understanding of Indian system. Do you agree with my understanding of Indian system?
So the government benefits, yes, the government should also, if the government is benefiting, you should also ensure that the deaf community benefits. So there are so many problems so many issues. We say, okay, we'll do this later. But now things are a little better. I have met a few ministers and a few officials, the MIB team, the MSJE team, things are good. After my advising, they listen to me. As a deaf role model, I have explained this to them. And then they realize that, I tell them, this is possible. Sometimes it is not even their fault because this is all run by hearing people. They should hire deaf employees, deaf researchers, deaf scientists. These people can then help them do better. These things they decide, we'll make decisions for the deaf. This system is wrong. That has to change. The MIB ministry, I have discussed with them and then I told them, put sign language interpretation. They used to think that captions are enough. Then I told them it's the opposite. It's wrong information. Deaf can't read. Then they asked me, why sign language? Is it the same across the world? I said, no, Indian sign language is different. American they didn't even know this. British sign language is different. Italian is different. How you have Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, it's different, right? So you have the German sign language, different sign languages. They didn't know this also. So hopefully, things should change in the future.
Very good thing. Okay, now let me very quickly ask 3-4 things for people to understand. Number one, my observation is after we did this film, the Kashmir Files, which you dubbed in Indian Sign Language, people said, how it can be dubbed? Nobody is talking. Where is dubbing? people don't even have the basic concept that it's a language. And second thing, people understand that sign language is international, it's global. One language is good for everybody. So please explain why Indian sign language is different. I mean, is it Hindi which she's doing? Can she do English, Hindi, Marathi, all the languages? Suppose there is a deaf person in Tamil, then do you have Indian sign language or Tamil sign language?
Very good question. Many people have asked me the same question. Very good question. You have a very good point you have raised. I can mind you really have a good mind, as a director. You understand languages. So okay. Indian India means of north, south, east, west, right? Everything. So across India, they use Indian Sign Language. So it is the ISL is used pan-India. It's like we are a deaf family across the country. Wherever we go, we can use it. There'll be some differences. So, for example, father, there'll be some variations in the sign language depending on the area, depending on how you go in every area, the food differs, right? So similarly, there are small variations, but otherwise we have one language, like Indian Sign Language, like how Hindi is used pan-India, right? So even if you have Marathi, Gujarati, so ISL is one language for all the deaf people in India.
So whether I speak in English, Hindi, Bengali, she will make the same signs?
Same, correct.
Same. Now, okay. Now the problem is Indian language.
So for example, we translated a Gujarati movie in ISL. We did 2 Gujarati movies, Kach Express and Chaljivi Lai. So same concept.
Okay, now Indian languages have a big problem because one thing has many words. So let me see. Can you translate those words? Let me understand. Okay, I'll tell in her ear. Okay, and yeah, I want the common people to understand. I'll tell in her ear, and she'll say, "You tell me the different words for that." Is it okay? So that people understand that how good this language is.
Okay.
Okay.
Love. Love.
Okay, now first word I told her was mohabbat. Second I told her was pyar. Now these both have little different connotation.
Love. So it's not only sign, not only the hands, it's the face, it's the body. That becomes ISL. And the sentence also, the situation on the sentence. So how you have different meaning for different words for different things. I love you means I love you. Love can be a love between a couple, or it can mean anything. It depends on the sentence.
So, but it also depends on the quality of the interpreter.
Of course. So if the interpreter is of good quality, then I'll be able to understand 100%. If the interpreter is not very skilled, then I will not understand. So the interpreter helps me understand the content clearly. So now you're speaking in Hindi, suppose you're speaking in Tamil, and if a translator doesn't interpret properly, will you agree if a translator is not translating your spoken content properly? It should be 100% equal, right? Whether it is a bad word, it's a good word, doesn't matter. The interpreter should interpret everything. It is our right to understand.
Okay. Yeah, so okay, so the handicap of translation is the same like it is for politicians. When the Prime Minister goes to South, he can't speak. So interpreter, very often I've seen politicians make a fool of themselves because they say something, interpreter says something else, and the audience laughs. Okay, so that's the...
Same concept, same.
Okay, Kejriwalji, tell me something. People don't know, and this is a genuine problem, how to address deaf people. After Kashmir Files, when I wrote deaf, this thing, lot of people took objection. You can't use that word. You have to say differently abled. You have to say hearing impaired, and all those kind of things. Please tell people in detail how to address deaf people.
Deaf. You call me deaf. There's nothing wrong
But
with
then
it.
deaf people can't talk, so people call them dumb also. They say gunga. Gunga bera.
Wrong. No. Some people cannot speak. That's okay. Some people cannot hear. It's okay. Some can't walk. It's okay. There are people who use a wheelchair. You will not call someone dumb just because they can't do something,
No,
right?
dumb, not that way. Dumb I meant deaf and mute.
No. That's no. It's deaf. That's the right word.
Okay, so everybody who's listening, from the horse's mouth, Alok Kejriwal ji is saying that the most appropriate, respectful, dignified word to address people who can't hear is deaf people. And because deaf people can't hear, they have a problem in talking also. So don't call them mute or deaf and dumb or deaf and mute. Just say deaf. That is the correct way to address. And
Right. Perfect.
okay, I'm not going to ask you all those cliche questions like how society treats you and all that. I don't care how society treats you as long as we have a great equal relationship. But there is something which is in my mind. I work a lot with psychology and philosophy. So I want to understand that are people who are not gifted physical traits equal to anybody else, do they possess some extra instinct? Because my interaction with people who are differently abled have an instinct which is more creative than people like me. Why is it? Is it true, or it is just a romanticization of differently abled people? But I'm not a romantic that way. My interaction, I know a lot. There was this girl who recently died, like my own sister. She was autistic, but then she had an expression which was so creative, and people who don't have a leg, or people who have different kinds of issues, blind people. I worked with a lot of blind people in blind school, but then the way they were expressing themselves was different. That's why you must have noticed when blind people sing, there is something different in their notation. There is one X factor, a mojo, or something different from everybody else. I'm sorry, I had to explain this question very long, but you tell me what are your views on this?
That is the truth. I agree with you. God has made different types of disabilities, blind, and He has given them more skill when it comes to able-bodied people. For example, my company, when we interview candidates, my team takes the first round, and then the final stage I decide. I have this thing where I can read people, and then I realize that no, this person is not good. Sometimes it's very hard for me to explain it. So I have that extra sense in me. So how you have 5 senses, right? That I have that one sense. And this is why even deaf people have those skills. There's something extra. It's like God giving us protection, giving protection to the deaf community. And the same for deaf people, for blind people. So this is what happens when I'm making decisions in my company as a deaf person. Hearing people will be like, oh, very good, you're qualified and all. But sometimes hearing people can't read a person. They don't know how corrupt a person is or whether their heart is clean or not. For me, I can do that.
Wonderful. And then tell me, these Netflix and Amazon, all their web series and shows, are they all of them dubbed in Indian Sign Language?
Finally, things are working. So, Nat Geo. One sec, sorry. So, talking about OTT.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I'm starting from there.
Okay, sorry. So, Kashmir Files was the first movie to come on Z5. And then we had the World Cup, which is on Disney Plus Hotstar. That was for the first time we have live interpreting for a cricket match in the world. After that, we had a National Geography documentary which is on Hotstar. It is called India Boats. It's on Disney Plus Hotstar now. And that also has sign language interpretation to create awareness about the election and have people learn from it. And now we have a fourth movie called Tiger Nageshwar Rao, and it is
That is
on
also our
Amazon Prime.
Nageshwar is our film, yeah. My brother's film, yeah.
Your brother, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have put that, I think just 2 weeks back, and I was surprised. Nobody, like, they just put it on Amazon, and that was the first movie to go on Amazon Prime.
Okay, so how many deaf people are in India?
63 million minimum.
63 million.
Yes.
Okay, so this is, let me just take a little diversion, and I want to ask all the OTT people, Netflix, Amazon, whatever, Hotstar, and all these people, you in your office, in your corporate setup, you work with equal opportunity. Okay, you talk about equal rights and everything. Have you ever realized that if you include Indian Sign Language, you do dubbing in Tamil and Hindi films in Tamil and Telugu and Malayalam? Why do you do that? Because there is business. There are eyeballs. There are people, you know that it's going to give you revenues, and vice versa. Tamil films you dub in so many other languages. Has it ever occurred to you that if you include Indian Sign Language, you will get at least, even if we say 50%, then out of 65 million people, you'll get 30 million people watching your shows. And so, what happens to your equal opportunity objectives and values when it comes to the audience? Why this discrimination? Why that audience should be deprived of your entertainment? This is a very hard question I am asking through this podcast. And if anybody is seeing, I would appreciate if all the deaf people take out this clip. I'll put it separately and send it to tag all the Netflix and Amazons so that we ensure, so our activism begins now. What do you think about this? Is it a good thing to do?
It's very difficult, you know. I have approached almost all OTT platforms: Amazon, Netflix, Z5, Hotstar. The Hotstar team were wonderful, very open-minded, then very supportive. Z5, Kashmir Files was great, and then after that, nothing happened, you know. People are complaining, we want to watch more movies, like Kerala stories, you know. People want to know, you know, what the movie was, right? They wanted to know about it, and then we'll do, no response there. Even Sony Live, no response. Hotstar has been very supportive so far. So finally now Amazon is also coming on board, you know, with the Tiger Nageshwar Rao. So things are better. So for now we have two OTT
Yeah, but
platforms.
that is like just a drop in Pacific Ocean, or all the seven oceans and one drop. My question is this: now Hollywood has made it almost compulsory to give equal opportunity or representation to various communities, LGBTQ community, blacks, okay, deprived people, disabled people. Now my question is this: if you are doing all that, why are you ignoring deaf people? You know, why can't they access entertainment like me or anybody else? I think I will believe in your equal participation, representation, and opportunity philosophy only when you also do it for the consumer, which gives you billions of dollars.
Exactly. But we've approached Netflix also. But then apparently you have to get permissions from the head office. But we're talking about the Indian market here. There's no accessibility. So they say that you have to get permissions from the US office. So again, it depends from person to person. Sometimes if a person is open-minded, things work. If they are closed-minded, it doesn't work. So for me, I want to meet the decision makers there, you know. Because otherwise sometimes people don't have the power, because our concept is so new and this is such happening for the first time. Like how when I met you, you agreed and you told everybody, no, we need to do this. So we need more people like that. It's very tough.
And what about Doordarshan?
Again, government, it's a government organization. The government themselves don't know about accessibility for the deaf. That is why I'm just focusing on, working myself and growing this. It's easier for me than to approach people. You know how the government works.
Okay, so let's make an appeal to Information and Broadcasting Ministry. And Ashwin Vaishnav ji has been a very successful bureaucrat and a wonderful person. And I definitely would like to appeal through this to him and to wonderful Secretary of INB, Mr. Jaju. And our Prime Minister is also always has spoken about differently abled people. So I would request that at least we can begin with Doordarshan. If you can't do it for every program, you can do it at least for all the news in India. Every single news. I know private channels, they will look for profits, but what people are not realizing that 65 million people is a very, very big number. And your advertisers would be interested. I'm making a commercial sense. Your advertisers would be interested because deaf people, it's not that deaf people don't buy things, that don't they consume products.
Exactly,
so-
you're right. We've also translated advertisements,
I know, I know.
We did during the IPL matches, we had HDFC ads on TV, and now for the World Cup, we have done the Dream 11 ads in sign language.
And I think we dubbed the Vaccine War trailer also, didn't we? Or did we or didn't we? Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
The trailer. So if trailers can be done, ad films. Yeah. So anyway, so I'll make sure that I will write many times to INB Minister in social media, personally also whenever I get a chance, and I will make sure that I send it to INB Secretary also. We'll see whatever we can do that. But after that, then government works with many rules, regulations, protocols. I don't know what's going to happen. But if you have to talk to people in general, okay, what is it that you would like to expect from people, common people?
So many things.
Yeah, please tell me all those so many things.
So, whether it's a government or a private company, they must provide some jobs, for because it is they need to make a living. When the people don't have jobs, they depend on their families, and that's a very big issue. Giving jobs is a must, depending on they are qualified, but then the salary they earn half the salary. If it's a deaf person, they earn 5,000. If it's a hearing person, they earn 10,000. So there should be equality. There are hearing people who take advantage of their disabilities, and again, that's not fair. In my company, when I employ anybody, I pay them equal salaries. All benefits I give them equally because I know they're deaf just like me. That's a
Okay,
very
now let
big
me
issue.
ask you. I want to employ some editor who's deaf. Okay, I have no problems. Anybody can come. But if he joins my company, if he comes and starts editing for us or becomes my assistant director or a script writer, how will I communicate with him or her?
You'll have to hire an interpreter.
Or we can hire interpreters?
Yes. There are around 300 interpreters, so many interpreters in India.
No.
See,
So let me understand, it's a practical issue. So somebody comes, works 9 to 5 with us, then interpreter will have to sit here 9 to 5? Or is there a way that we can also learn to communicate? If I go to Bangalore, okay, I have to learn Kannada. If I go to Chennai, I have to learn Tamil. Okay? In India, it's because of the politics, it's become like you have to learn Tamil, otherwise get out of my place. In Maharashtra, I've been living here and I don't know Marathi. And a lot of people get upset with me that why don't you know Marathi? So you learn that. Is it possible for us also to learn this language?
of course, it's possible. Basic sign language you can learn. How are you? Thank you. Please, as a basic sign language. So if we're working together, you will pick up from me sign language slowly. Slowly, it's possible. Basics. Everything is possible. Patience is needed.
Okay, so you don't talk now. Okay, let me try. Let me see if we understand. Okay? Keep quiet. Yeah. So, How are you doing? What did he say?
How are you?
Ah, okay. So slowly we can work together.
Possible. It is. Thank you. This is thank
Yeah.
you.
No, no, I understand it fully. What needs to be done. See, like for example, when I go to France or Germany, places where people do not speak English, okay, I speak to them. I speak my language, and my wife always says, "Why do you speak Hindi?" I said, because when I speak Hindi, it's my mother tongue. I emote very well, and people are able to gather my expressions. But when I speak in English in France, they don't understand what I'm saying. When I, with my hands and expressions, I speak in Hindi, they understand like this.
Yes, gestures, move your body, use your gestures. So how do I manage? When I go to Africa, I don't have an interpreter. I use gestures. I say, please speak slowly. I sign, little bit of lip reading, little bit of writing. 24 hours, I cannot have an interpreter with me. It's not possible. At night, if something happens, I manage by myself. I'm used to it. It's a hearing world. I've traveled across the world to more than 50
Let me share
countries
something
now.
very interesting with you. I am by nature, I am a bit impatient. Okay, and I, from my childhood or my teenage, I wanted to make a difference in this world. I wanted to make change. And whenever I tried, I would get very impatient. No, no, let's do it early. My father told me a wonderful thing. If you want to make a change, you have to be the most patient person in this world. Without this quality, you can never bring about a change.
Correct, I agree. Deaf people are patient. They have become used to. They don't have any option. Hearing people are, oh, now do this now, do this now. My father also, but I'm very cool. I'm very relaxed because of everybody's under hearing people are so much pressure. The phone is ringing, this is ringing. When we are this helps us to focus on the task. Because there's so many things in mind now. Everyone has so many things in their mind. I said it's their problem, not my problem. I will focus on
Are you
mine.
married?
Yes. Look at my age, I am.
No, no, fine. Is your wife also deaf or
She's hearing.
she hears?
Yeah, she's hearing. She can hear.
So tell me about your relationship. How does it work, this relationship? Because a lot of people say don't marry because somebody is deaf. And wonderful people. I know one case where a boy started loving a girl. In fact, in Bhopal. But then he really loved the girl, and they started communicating also. But then the parents said, no, 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 you can't marry because it's about your children. What if your children are also born deaf? And we won't be able to communicate. And today you are young, so your hormones are very high, but after some time you won't be able to live with the person. So why don't you share this thing? Please tell people in detail about your own marriage life. You have children?
I have two kids, yes.
They can
One
hear?
son. Yes, hearing.
So
Hearing.
please tell this in detail so that everybody understands.
I'm very open, yes. So I want people to be aware. See, at the end of the day, God decides who you marry. I wish to marry a deaf girl. I really wished, but I couldn't find a good deaf person who was available at that time. I graduated in 1989. I was looking for somebody who was educated. It didn't matter whether deaf or hearing. For me, it was always about a person and their heart. I wanted a beautiful girl and someone who could communicate with me. It didn't matter to me if it was deaf or hearing. I met a few deaf girls, but it didn't really click. In the US also, I saw people, but they have a very different culture. They smoke, they drink, and I'm a very simple person. For me, I follow what my mom taught me. I pray, I'm a vegetarian, I don't smoke. I very hardly I drink. People were very surprised. Oh, you went to the US, you should have done all this drinking, smoking, drugs. Because my father was very strict. I was very afraid of my father. So then what happened is my father wanted me to marry a hearing person. I'll be very honest. But at the end of the day, I said I will make the decision. Nobody can force me. My parents agreed. Generally people just force kids to get married, but I said no, I'm independent and I was patient. I proposed to around 50 girls. uh,
50.
yes, around.
Hmm.
But I got proposals of around 50 girls. I rejected them. Sorry, because they couldn't communicate properly and too many things. I liked one girl. I thought no, she might not marry a deaf person, and she was a very boring girl also. So I said no. I was like, I'm not in a hurry to get married. My father wanted me to get married. Marwadi culture again. And then something happened. In this last person, I liked her. She was educated, and her father was a very open-minded person. He was the captain of a private shipping company. Very open-minded person. He said, "So what happens? You can marry him. You support him." And I was surprised. A very open-minded man. He has traveled across the world to more than 100 countries. And then I really liked her. And I told my father, wait, let me date her for a week, let me go meet her. If she's happy, if I am happy, we'll do it. And I had to go back to the US to study. I was in India for a holiday, and then I went and met her, and I felt a very smooth connect. And she was educated me automatically, even if you can't communicate with the person, you can't reach their hearts, right? And automatically I connected, and then I told my parents, just wait. In the end, the girl agreed, and I said yes, and my parents were very happy, and things worked out. So then we did the engagement, and then after the engagement, I went back to the US to my college. And now I have 2 kids, my son, my daughter.
Were there any problems? What are the real practical problems?
Marriage between a deaf and a hearing person is not easy. It's a big challenge, It's adjustments, I have to learn from her. She has to learn from me. She has to learn my deaf culture, hearing cultures. It's very different. It is a challenge, but patience is must. You have to be patient. Both parties need to be patient. Marriage will surely be happy. If there is no patience, then there are big issues.
Do you fight?
Yes, of course.
Hmm?
That's the truth, of course. After marriage, we fought a lot, but both of us learned from our mistakes. It's not perfect, and both of us realized, we apologized, and then things have been smooth. Lot of fighting, yes.
But children won't be a problem because children learn it from childhood.
Exactly, automatically. My son, my daughter, and it's fine. They know sign language. My wife knows sign language because they need to communicate with me. Some people don't communicate with their kids, and it depends again from family to family. My father supported my wife, gave her the freedom for whatever she wanted to do, whatever she wanted to wear, wherever she wanted to go. So it was just about keeping everyone happy, For my father, my wife is like his daughter.
And but okay, now if you have, names, everything else, love, work, this, that, everything. I understand language, but name is something. India has so many different names, different accents. How do you tell names? If a deaf person has to say this is my name, then won't it confuse? Even if you have interpreter, how would she know what are you trying to say?
So Alok Kejriwal, that's my name.
You some difficult name. If there's a long name, how would you translate that?
By spelling it. So your name is Vivek
Oh,
Ranjan
acha, like that.
Spelling.
Okay.
Finger spelling, sign and finger spelling. That becomes ISL. So your name is Vivek. I am Buddha Productions.
Okay.
Buddha. It's very simple. If it's a big name, you have to smell it. If it's a small, so for example, Ram. There are some common words like Ram. Ram, there are signs for it. If it's a different, unique word, then you have to spell it. So, okay, Alok Kejriwal, no, then I don't say it. I just spell it out if it's a long name.
Ah, okay. Okay, one thing which really I want to understand, you are quite empowered, you have money, you have comforts, and you have access to have an interpreter and all those kind of things. But what is a day in the life of somebody who's not rich, who's poor, and lives in a typical Indian small town society, somebody living in, say, Dharavi, and somebody who is deprived section of the society. If that person is deaf, please describe one day in that person's life. What are the problems that person is facing?
Very difficult. Big challenge.
Like, for example, what are the challenges? Attitude of the society.
Um, so, the, for example, if the husband wife, the couple is deaf, if they need an interpreter, if there's an emergency, they go to the hospital, family cannot communicate with them. So our company provides them interpreters. We charge a very nominal fee. We send interpreters to these people to go to the hospital, or they have to go to the police station. So we send interpreters there, or whether they have to go to the court. We send interpreters again because they need interpreters wherever they go. How will they communicate, right? It's not easy. Because sometimes they get cheated also. They get discriminated. Sometimes they lose their properties. So many issues.
No, but suppose they go to somebody has a health issue, and you take the person to the hospital, or both husband wife, or he goes alone, suppose. How will they communicate in the hospital? How will he explain what problem he has?
That's a very good question. It's very difficult. So sometimes the family helps. They write and they'll speak. My mother will sit with me when I was in the hospital. 3 months back, I couldn't communicate. So my sister, my father, my mom, they communicated. They were the ones who were interpreting the conversation for him.
In America is everybody lives individual life. They don't have family system. So somebody living alone, some man or a woman, has some issue and drives down to a hospital. What is the system there?
Wonderful. America is much better. They provide interpreters everywhere. I'm deaf, interpreter will come. So when I went to interpreters are provided there. They pay for the interpreters. I don't have to pay anything.
Okay, so what is the status in India? If I go to Kokila Ben, will I get an interpreter?
No, they will not give. No. They will yourself go get an interpreter. You said they should provide. That's as per law.
So
but
that
they
is
ignore
Kokila
it.
Ben, one of the richest billionaires hotel and 7-8 star hotel. If they are not doing it, imagine the life of a person, a deaf person in say in Jhansi, Kanpur, or villages. So life is hell for a deaf person in India.
Yeah, it's the truth. Yes.
I'll give you one example. I don't want to say, but I want the people to know this so that they understand. We used to shoot. There used to be SL studios, and there was one staff guy. Now it's not there. SL studio used to be far off, a long time back, and there used to be a staff, somebody, a boy who would take lunch orders, and all those kind of things, and was deaf. Okay, and he would come and he will tell people something like that. And you know what, big stars and the big people, the most powerful film people will say, kya pam 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 kar raha hai, jaldi bol, kya acha chal samajh. People would make fun of him. Then very often they would call him, make him talk, acha ek joke suna. This attitude of the society, okay, if this needs to be changed, then people who are influencers, now everybody on social media is influencer. What is it that influencers can do? Give me one or two bullet point things which they can do to bring the change in the attitude of the society.
So when you have a deaf person working there, when a deaf person says, listen, I am deaf, please be patient, please write, you cannot, you know, you have to be patient. So whenever I meet people, I tell them, okay, I'm deaf, and then they say, okay, and then they all, and then they say, and then I say, you know, have an interpreter. And if the interpreter is not there, I'll say, please speak slowly. Please, I need to read your lips. If you cannot understand me, please write. So we have to ask that way, you know. So if you're making fun of them, you're like, discrimination is not the key. If you be slow, you have patience, things can work out. Now things are still better. Earlier it was very bad. Sometimes the staff, the relatives, and what happened that time I was very innocent. I never shouted at people. I used to never say anything. Now I used to say, you ask me, you be this thing. One time my neighbor slapped me, you know, because I was crying, you know, why did they slap me? I myself didn't know what happened because nobody communicated with me properly. Then my father told them, why are you shouting at him? Why are you slapping? Tell me. So my experience also has been very difficult.
That's true. Yeah, I totally. I mean, I want to say something very, very frankly. Okay, we are one of the most religious countries in the world. Okay, we worship our gods like anything. Most of the people spend most of their time just, and we are always talking. Look at the imagery of Ram and Krishna, our goddesses, all the saints. They are so full of compassion, empathy. We are the people who gave birth to Buddhism, so much full of empathy. Jainism, full of empathy. I mean, to the extent that you can't kill animals. A country where the ethos, the value system is based on karuna, daya, empathy, or enabling and empowering the deprived. You know, in that country, why our attitude towards differently abled people, people don't have a leg or a hand or eyes, or why, or if you are dark, why the society treats them so badly and humiliates them is beyond my comprehension.
Even I myself don't understand it because mostly people have a very closed mind. That's a very big issue. Some people don't have patience. They just don't want to deal with these things. You are a very patient person. You've been very patient with me, and very few people have such a large heart. And these people can have, if your heart is dirty, you can never have patience.
I have a different point of view. I'll explain. You tell me whether you agree with me or not. A person who chews tobacco, okay, he spits everywhere. If you go to any building in India, every building on the stairs, near the elevators, spitting, spitting, spitting. Same person, uneducated or educated, doesn't matter. Even if he's a very poor person, auto rickshaw driver, or somebody who we say is not civilized and sophisticated, even that person, take him to a five-star hotel, doesn't spit. Because he knows that there are repercussions of spitting here. It won't be tolerated. Right? But right, so it means that when you have very strict rules, regulations, and discipline, and attitude that this is something is not allowed here, people follow rules. Okay, the same person who doesn't stand in a queue in India for a train or a bus, the moment he lands, whoever lands in Europe, they start standing in a queue after 1 or 2 days. I believe that this responsibility of attitude towards deprived people, or physically disabled people, or deaf people, or blind people lies on the state, the government, and the law enforcement agencies. This is my personal point of view. Do you agree, or am I right, or am I wrong? Or maybe I am partially wrong or right. Please give me your views.
Yes, very good question. There's so many, we are like what, 1,500 million people. Government cannot manage everything. They cannot solve problems everywhere. So many issues. The government wants to do it, but sometimes, it's just impossible. And there's so many state governments also. For example, there's a government department, okay? They should hire a deaf person for disability problems related to the deaf. So deaf people know what the problems are, right? So you hire such a person and let the deaf person work with the government. So in the US, they have deaf people who are working in the government. In Indian government system, everybody is hearing. So that is where we get stuck. Hearing people don't know anything about deaf issues. They just write on the paper, email this, that, that's it.
Uh, but but Mr. Kejriwal, if government can have such strict laws for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe people, okay, that people are even misusing it today. Why can't we have a simple law that any citizen who cheats or hurts or humiliates or make fun or use derogatory language or disrespectful language and gestures towards differently abled people or deaf people, then they will be penalized immediately without no questions asked. Why can't they do that?
There is a law which says it, but people are
There's a
ignoring
law.
it.
Tell me what is the law?
RPWD Act. Wait,
Tell
it's
me
the detail. So it's so the law says provide interpreters, provide captions, provide everything is mentioned in the law for the disability, for the deaf, blind, everyone. But private people are not following it. Government needs to be more strict. There has to be more advertisement about the law, more awareness about it. That is a big issue.
Can we do together to create awareness, collaborate, and do something like that? No.
Possible. Will be very nice.
Okay.
Because everybody in our community knows you know, with Kashmir Files and with Delhi Files, everybody knows you. By doing this, you will automatically, people will see it and there'll be more awareness and there'll be a change for sure.
What?
I'm ready to work with you.
What is your guess? Okay, guess. Okay, what's your guess? If a deaf person goes to a local police station and says, you know, that shopkeeper or that person or that boy humiliated me and abused me, okay, what do you think how that police inspector or the cop is going to react? What is your perception?
They will not bother. They say, so you know how.
Chances are they will also make fun of the deaf person.
Yes.
Chances are they will also.
Yeah, I agree. It's very common.
Our films also make fun.
Yes. So when I'm talking to my friend in sign language, another person said, see that this person is using sign language. And then I said, listen, you cannot talk like that. You can't laugh at me. Using sign language is my right. Because many people do this.
Yeah, and one thing, okay, before we close, it's been on more than an hour we have been chatting. So the reason was I wanted to tell people I can also talk. Okay, no, I wanted people to know that two people can just sit and chat for long hours. We can, right now we are talking more about deaf people for the audience's benefit, but we can sit and crack jokes and you can tell me about the last fight you had with your wife and I can tell about the last fight I had with my wife and we can laugh and have fun, no?
Yeah, it's open. This is life. Nobody's life is perfect, you know. Life goes up and down at the end of the day.
So,
and I'm very open, you know. Nobody is perfect. Yeah, we all have issues. We love, and I'm not perfect. Things keep happening.
I was trying to say we can have common gossip and have fun and crack jokes. There is no difference between people who can hear and people who don't hear.
It's the same. It's the same. See how you feel. How do you feel communicating with me with an interpreter? It's smooth, right? So this is a very good thing to. So once people see something like this, you know, whether it is the film industry, OTT, wherever it is, for sure things will change.
Wonderful.
For 100%.
Okay, so let me share something with you. My understanding is when I came for your show, after that, I meet a lot of deaf people. The way they hug, so much of love. That love is different. It's so innocent and nice. But let me tell you one thing. I would suggest that everybody should have at least one deaf friend in their life. Reason is because if you meet the person, you have to make an effort to listen, understand, and see the expressions very closely what the deaf person is trying to say. Because in this modern world, nobody even looks at your face, nobody cares what you're saying. So it is a very good thing for you, your own self, your own spirituality, because it gives you the minor details of human expressions, and you seriously understand what the other person is trying to say rather than just blah 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 blah.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And we can even have, if you ever want deaf people to work here,
We'll do
anytime.
that. We'll collaborate. And one thing I'm promising you, in my next film, The Delhi Files, after talking to you, I'm realizing I will create one person who can't talk. So I will do something like that. Let me see, and we'll dub it in Indian Sign Language.
I request you, when you're making Delhi Files, right? I request you that you hire at least one deaf boy and one deaf girl as
what?
actors. Maybe in any position, any
Okay.
role, any small role,
Okay, done.
So whether it is a cook or a driver, any role. So it'll actually, since you're already deaf, the deaf community, there's so many deaf people who want to become actors. We can actually even give you a list. You can screen them depending on their skills. You make a call. Why not?
Okay, great. I'll do that. I promise you. I'm saying it on TV. I promise you. In fact, I would like to take some assistant director or in editing or in any department of filmmaking. It's very important that we create a relationship between deaf people and the film industry. I want every single film in this country to be dubbed in Indian Sign Language. That is my kind of a dream.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So you will send me young boys and girls to work with me.
We have 100 series. The people are requesting us for jobs. There is no film association also for the deaf in India. Like how you have film associations in
Yeah.
Goregaon, right?
Yeah.
What was it? I forgot.
All
the
kinds
name.
of film producers association, directors association, cine artist associations.
In India, in the US, there is a filmmaking class for the deaf in the US. In India, there is none. So you can start hiring deaf people, and then automatically the government can seize these things and set up some infrastructure for the deaf.
Whatever that I'll do, and one more thing I am willing to commit. I'm with the foundation, and with your foundation we can collaborate. I can conduct few free workshops for the deaf people in filmmaking, acting, direction, so that their skills will become better. But one thing, when I do workshop, then I no softer workshops. I'll do it like they're professionals. Is that okay?
Of course, yes. I'm ready to work with you. Because deaf community will benefit because of this.
Okay, I have a question now for Priya. Priya, tell me something. Why did you learn this language? I'm asking you.
I was just interpreting the question. So, my mom is deaf, so sign language is my mother tongue. So, when I grew up, I was already communicating with my mother through sign language. So, it was just natural for me. And then my mom and Alok ji are classmates. So, I met Alok ji and then I started working with him, and then things just fell into place, yes.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So, Alokji, anything else you want to say before we close now?
I would love to work with you for the workshop and and your support towards creating deaf awareness across India, whether it is in the film industry, acting, directing, anything. There has to be awareness for the deaf community. Then there will be improvement when it comes to accessibility in India. That is the main thing.
Wonderful, I'll do that, and I'll also try to influence people, other directors. I'll speak whenever I meet them. I'll raise this issue. But wonderful talking to you, and I wish you all the best. In the end, I just want to tell the audience that whenever don't start with big things, start with a very very small thing, because attitudes change, when you start with the smallest particle, and the smallest particle in this case is that from now onwards, when you think about mother tongues, don't think only about Hindi, English, Tamil, Bengali, French, German, Korean, or Japanese. Also include sign language as mother tongue, and you have to understand that sign language is also a mother tongue like Hindi, Urdu, English, or any other language of the world. Thank you, Mr. Kejriwal.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Priya. Thank you very much. You speak very well, but in sign language. Okay? Okay. Hello. Teach me one thing on camera. If I have to say, it was so wonderful talking to you, Mr. Kejriwal. I have to learn.
So Alokji will teach you that
Huh.
it was wonderful.
Wonderful.
Talking to you.
It was wonderful to meet you.
Wait.
Wonderful.
And let's meet again soon.
Meet you soon. Soon.
Soon. Acha, 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 acha. Meet you soon. Wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.